The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia versus the Islamic Republic of Iran. Both countries are major Muslim powers. One, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is a regional power of the Sunni world, while Islamic Republic of Iran is a Shia major power in the Middle East. So how could the newly born Islamic Republic of Iran gain many successes that Saudi Arabia couldn't have made? In fact, Saudi Arabia was losing more and more territories, more and more allies to the Islamic Republic of Iran. How could that happen is what we want to unveil in this video. A question posed by many Muslims or even non-Muslims: why is Saudi Arabia losing allies, the likes of Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, while Iran is gaining those which were once its enemy? How could that happen? How could that happen to Saudi Arabia? In this video, we want to show vital information behind Iran's successes against Saudi Arabia. So, the first thing is vision. The newly formed Shia regime had a vision, and a very strong vision, which was to unite the Muslims under their rule. They wanted to dominate the Muslim world. Iran, the newly born Islamic Republic, was determined to attain its goal of foundation, which was to unite Muslims under their rule. Saudi Arabia, unfortunately, had no such plans, not even in their horizon. That was never part of their agenda. The second one was now determination to achieve the vision. Iran, and the head, was ready to go through whatever it takes to achieve that goal, which was to dominate the Muslim world. That was it. To dominate the Muslim world. That was their plan. And the nuclear program of Iran is not short of a method to achieve it. The Shia Iran is determined to gain that goal by any means, even if to start a nuclear program and nuclear capabilities to achieve its dominance in the Muslim world. For many years, Shia Iran was facing sanctions, was facing crippling economy as a result of the sanctions imposed by the United States through the UN. But then Iran was ready to hold as long as it takes to make its nuclear program successful. On the other hand, Saudi Arabia was never in such moods. Saudi Arabia was determined to continue its lavish lifestyles, and in case of such threats, it was ready to alliance with world powers for protection. The Sunni Saudi Arabia was gaining more and more returns from its oil industry. But Saudi Arabia was not thinking the way Iran was thinking. Saudi Arabia totally relied for its external protection on Western powers, the likes of the US, while Iran was determined to protect itself and even expand through building nuclear capabilities. Support of the Shia minorities. A policy once used by the United States and Western powers in dissolving the former Soviet Union in the early 1990s. The Soviet Union, which was considered to be the first world superpower, or at least a world superpower, was dissolved through the support of rebel groups. The same technique is now used by the Shia minorities, by Iran, to support the Shia minorities around the world. Those Shia minorities are to promote Shia interests and the main Iran goal, which was to dominate the world. Iran supports Shias around the world with weapons and money, e.g. Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and many others. And unfortunately, Saudi Arabia has zero such support for the Muslim majorities that, despite being majority, are victims in the hands of the Shia holy warriors. That was really another key factor for Iran's expansion in the Middle East. The other one is psychological weapon, a weapon that has been used in many wars that took place along the human race. Psychological weapon has worked successfully in many of these wars, and certainly Iran is now using it for its own good. Iran deploys this weapon, psychological weapon, very much better than Saudi Arabia. This happens in the following ways. Iran shows hostility towards Israelis and its occupation of Palestine. Iran also supports the resistant movement of Hamas. Iran supports the resistant movement of Hamas and is also the leading anti-Western regime in the Middle East. This is very important to the Muslims wherever they are, because Muslims worldwide hate Israelis, and it is illegal occupation of Palestine. They also hate the very increasing influence of Western regimes in their affairs. Iran, by showing such hostilities and promoting anti-Westernism, is gaining and winning Muslim support and Muslims' heart, while Saudi Arabia shows less hostility on the other hand to Westerns and Israel. In fact, Saudi Arabia is normalizing relations with Western and Israelis, which is not good to Muslims. Thus, Saudi Arabia is losing confidence in many Muslims' hearts around the world. In this game between Iran and Saudi Arabia, the psychological weapon works much better for Iran than Saudi Arabia. In the end, Saudi Arabia is losing more allies. Saudi Arabia has lost in the past the Saddam Hussein regime in Iraq, which was fighting Iran brutally. Saudi Arabia has also lost recently Lebanon, a liberal country, and more in good terms with Saudi Arabia to Iran through Hezbollah. So Saudi Arabia is surely losing more allies and gaining more enemies around it. Soon, Saudi Arabia could find itself encircled by countries or nations loyal to Iran. Iran is losing enemies one by one and gaining more allies. A statement once said by Al-Khomeini that Iran is surrounded by enemies is now totally not true. Iran is now encircled with very many allies. And so, surely, if Saudi Arabia does not change root policies, does not make root changes in its policies, it will face devastating losses in upcoming battles. A fact that Saudi Arabia wants to ignore and to avoid for the time being. But without proper changes in its policies, things may go very fast against the monarchy.